Hello, this presentation is about male gaze. Some of you may already be familiar with this term, but for those of you who aren't, the male gaze refers to the act of depicting women and the world in the visual arts and in literature from a masculine, heterosexual perspective that presents and represents women as sexual objects for the pleasure of the male viewer. This term was coined by feminist film theorist Laura Mulvey in her 1975 essay, Visual Pleasure in Narrative Cinema. In this essay, she proposes that there is an imbalance of power between the genders in film. In feminism, it is the act of depicting women as sexual objects for the pleasure of the male viewer. Male gaze also refers to the lens through which mostly white heterosexual men view the world. And most can agree that this is a entitled and privileged view and perspective. Feminists also believe that the male gaze creates inequality in films. So women are usually sexualized, they're controlled by men, and they're usually victimized. This should remind us of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in which Sally is repeatedly tortured by the male characters and rendered completely vulnerable. We may have also noticed how the camera angle tended to exploit certain body parts pertaining to the female characters in the film. In talking about male gaze, an important term to consider is voyeur. This is one who habitually seeks sexual stimulation by visual means. In other words, this is someone who gazes. Another term that essentially means the same thing is scopophilia. This term is from ancient Greek and was also employed by Freud, but it essentially means to derive pleasure from looking. So after this presentation, you will be reading Irwin Shaw's short story, The Girls in Their Summer Dresses, which was published in 1939. And this story is all about gazing. So as you're reading, I want you to pay special attention to the male character's behaviors and how he exemplifies this idea of the male gaze. But now let's turn our attention to male gaze in advertising. We are surrounded by advertisements all the time, whether that be, in a magazine or on a billboard, on social media, on television. Um, so these are some good examples of male gaze being utilized in advertising. So notice these ads, and I'm sure you've seen most of these before. So notice how the women are portrayed. Notice that they are all presented in a highly sexualized way. We can assume that most of these ads were probably created by men. They all exhibit a very masculine perspective. So it's good to sort of realize that we are constantly surrounded by images like these, and sometimes it's good to just sort of stop and recognize the absurdity of them. All right, so I have this short video, and I'm not going to show the whole thing, but this is a short collage of television advertisements over the years. So notice how the women are portrayed here. What kinds of roles are they playing? What aspects or assets are they valued for? What seems to be emphasized? Are they empowered or are they degraded?
I can't type. I don't take dictation. I won't sharpen pencil. I can't file. My boss calls me indispensable.
Miss Jones,
Just a minute.
will you make a copy of this?
Naturally. I push the button on the Xerox 914. Sometimes my boss asks me which is the original. And sometimes I don't know. If you don't give your man 007, I will. You want to know what comes between me and my Calvins? Nothing.
All right, so you guys get the point. So I will be posting a video by Jean Kilborn about the dangerous ways ads see women. So please make sure to watch that after this presentation.